What is up, people of the internet? It is Pastor Alex back at you with another video, and we're going to be reading Mark chapter 13, verses 3 through 4. We've been doing a series covering Mark 13 because it is so dense in it, and so we're going to continue in that. But before we proceed, make sure you like, subscribe, comment on our page for Christ's Redemption Church. We are a church whose mission is sharing the gospel through worship, the word, and inclusion. If that interests you, we meet every Saturday at 7 p.m. Check out our website with the same name, Christ's with an S, christsredemptionchurch.com. All right, so let's read the verses. We're going to be reading from the New King James Version. I don't care what version you use, just check it out. So verses 3 through 4 is what we're looking at. It says, "Now, as he sat on the Mount of Olives opposite the temple, Peter, James, John, and Andrew asked him privately, 'Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign when all these things will be fulfilled?'" This verse follows after Jesus prophesied that the temple would be destroyed. That in Mark 13, verses 3 through 4, it gives us some more details. So what information do we get from these verses? Well, we get the location. It's talking about the Mount of Olives across from the temple. And in Britannica.com, it describes the Mount of Olives as, and I quote, "multi-summit limestone ridge just east of the old city of Jerusalem and separated from it by the Kidron Valley." And then it goes on to say, the peak usually regarded as the Mount of Olives proper is the southern summit, 2,652 feet above sea level. And then continues on saying, first mentioned in the Bible as the ascent of the Mount of Olives. That was 2 Samuel chapter 15, verse 30. It is referred to in the book of Zechariah in the prophecy of the end of days, Zechariah chapter 14. The other thing that it tells us is who was with him, who was with Jesus, and those individuals would have been Peter, James, John, and Andrew. They are the four disciples who questioned Jesus in private, which is important. They asked when, or chronologically, this would happen, the prophecy. They asked what would be the sign this prophecy was fulfilled, or circumstances, likely thinking of the Old Testament prophecies, when such as Daniel 12 verses 6 through 7, which all foreshadowed the events in Acts 1 verses 6 through 7. The disciples would have been familiar with apocalyptic literature. I can't talk today, but they would have been familiar with apocalyptic literature of their time. They would have assumed the temple's destruction signaled the end times and pointed to their Messiah's holy reign. They wanted to know if this was happening soon. So there's a lot of questions they're asking that kind of go back from their Jewish heritage to all of these verses and these stories that they've heard throughout their growing up, and this is what they think that Jesus is referring to. So we're going to continue on in reading through Mark 13 and kind of pulling out little segments and kind of talking about them a little bit more. And if you have anything to add to this discussion, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.